All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, and what a beautiful day to learn about starting a business in Fairfax County, am I right? We're going to kick off this E101 webinar this morning with some questions to warm everyone up in the live chat. So for the first few minutes here, we would love to hear from you and get to know you just a little bit better. So when I ask a question, please go ahead and put your answer in the chat box. Be as brief or as descriptive as you'd like. Feel free to comment on others' responses as well. Just make sure that when you enter your own answer, you're sending it to both panelists and attendees. We want to leave this webinar knowing everyone just a little bit better, and that includes all of you getting to know each other a little bit better as well. So, question number one, starting you out with an easy one this morning. Where are you Zooming from? Are you currently in Fairfax County? Are you working remotely from another location? Are you on the couch with a cup of coffee, ready to learn more about starting a business? Be as vague or as specific as you'd like, but please go ahead and put your answer in the chat box. Make sure it's to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see your answer, and they are already flowing in. EJ is in Virginia. We've got Reston, Fairfax. Hi, Candace. Fairfax County, Herndon, from home. Leesburg, Springfield, Alexandria. Hi, Robbie. India, Chantilly. Good morning. Washington, D.C. Great. It is so great to see where all of you are logging in from this morning. All right, so we started you out with an easy one. This one's a thinker. What are 3 characteristics of a successful entrepreneur, in your opinion? You know, what are those characteristics that it really takes to make it as an entrepreneur? If you don't think of all 3 right at once, no problem. Throw them in the chat one at a time. And if you're just now joining us, go ahead and put your answers in the chat box and make sure you're replying to all panelists and all attendees. The 3 characteristics from Robbie: work, work, and work. We've got consistent, confidence, action. I like that. Resilience, confidence, and motivation. A couple people saying confidence, certainly true. Growth, time management, and action. Persistent, determined, and go-getter. I love that, Jasmine. Dedication, access to capital. That's a great one. And innovation. I'm seeing a lot of answers around the lines of confidence and action. I couldn't agree more. Adaptability, that's a great one, Erin. All right, this next question is one of my personal favorites. Tell us your first experience, your first entrepreneurial experience as a kid. Go ahead and put your answer in the chat. Make sure you're replying to all panelists and all attendees. But what is your first entrepreneurial experience as a kid? You know, I personally had a pretty lucrative car washing business when I was 10. And by lucrative, I mean I made maybe, $5 per car, but hey. But did you have a lemonade stand? Do you take senior photos? Put your answer in the chat. I love seeing these answers. Erin was selling Girl Scout cookies. Big fan of Thin Mints myself. Writing, that's great, Lynn. Selling Pokemon cards and selling video games. I love that, Sean. Babysitting. A market day in your school. Wow, back in 1996, I started my own website and turned it into a business and sold it in 2006. AJ, that's impressive. Selling my artwork to my dad. Betty, that's awesome. Math tutor, sewing a baby doll, a designer, and a seamstress. We've got some creatives on the call this morning. All right, bringing it back to present day, what kind of company do you either have or plan to start? Let's get some exposure for your company, put it in the chat, and let's also give our panelists an idea of what businesses are on the call this morning. If you're just now joining, go ahead and put your answer in the chat. We are asking, what kind of company do you either have or plan to start? Go ahead and put your answer in the chat box. All right, we've got a management consultancy, mobile notary, consulting, lots of consultants, childcare that specializes in children with disabilities, digital marketing agency, called Tatum Digital Agency. They put their link there in the chat if you want to check it out. Athleisure wear for plus size women. Love that, Dee. Education consulting. Ice cream and coffee, staffing and consulting, childcare, photography and video production. That's great, Toby. Bakery, staffing agency, a butcher shop. And make sure you're answering to all panelists and attendees so we can all see your great businesses. Handmade pottery. Christie's handmade pottery is mud tree designs if you want to check it out. Yes, this is being recorded. All right, that's great. Next question, what social media platform do you use most often? And let's go ahead and say for your business. So what social media platforms do you either use now most often or plan to use for your business? I'm seeing Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, lots of Facebook, lots of Facebook. Any Twitters out there? Anyone out there using YouTube or Pinterest or any brave souls trying to navigate TikTok? WhatsApp, all right. LinkedIn has been most successful, but AJ has been trying them all. Facebook, Instagram, and email. Lynn's using YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Candace is using TikTok. Man, that's really nice, diverse platform options we've got going on. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. All right. Getting a little more challenging. What has been the most challenging aspect of starting your business? Let's talk challenges. If you're just now joining, go ahead and put your answer in the chat. What has been the most challenging aspect of starting your business? We've got reach, capital, your website, funding, cash flow, lots of financing, contracts, winning our first contract, you bet. Capital, business strategy, funding. All right, we've got just a minute left here. I want to end on a really positive note. Go ahead and put one of the top reasons why you started your business. Go ahead and put that in the chat. What's one of the top reasons that you decided to start your own business? Passion. I love that, Robbie. Another passion from Tanya. For financial and time freedom, to work by myself, to be the boss. I like that one. All right, folks. Well, that concludes our live networking segment. Thank you all so much for your participation. It's great to get to know you all a little bit better. And with that, I will hand it over to Karen.
Thank you, Heather. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Entrepreneurship 101, Starting a Business in Fairfax County. I'm Karen Schma, Director of Diversity Business Investment and Entrepreneurship at the FCEDA, and it is my pleasure to be your host and moderator. Thank you for taking time to be part of our live event. Today, we will be discussing the topic of starting a business with our panel of small business experts who are here to share their knowledge. Following the individual presentations from our small business experts, be sure to stick around for the Q&A that will include all of our speakers. In addition, I hope that you will tune in to listen to Entrepreneur Spotlight featuring Emmit McHenry, Chairman and CEO of Cycurian, a global leading provider of network communications and information technology security solutions, and also a former FCEDA commissioner. Mr. McHenry will share details about his entrepreneurial journey and provide valuable tips for business success. The agenda we have planned will cover a number of topics that are sure to motivate and inspire you to start or grow your business. Without further delay, I'd like to introduce our first speaker. Joining me now to kick off today's program is FCEDA President and CEO, Victor Hoskins, who will deliver opening remarks. Good morning, Victor. Welcome to Entrepreneurship 101.
Good morning, Karen. Someone has to release my video. Thank you. Appreciate that. Good morning, Karen. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Entrepreneurship 101 is one of the key services that we provide to the Fairfax County community. And it is my honor to be here today with a Fairfax County business star, a legend, a luminary, Emmit McHenry of Sycurion. Emmit McHenry has served on our commission, and he has been a stalwart in our community for many years. Fairfax County is known as a hub of corporate headquarters. 11 of the Fortune 500 headquarters are located here in Fairfax County, and it is an innovation and tech hub. In less than 2 years, we've had major location announcements from Microsoft, from Google, from Facebook, from Amazon Web Services, Volkswagen Group of America, and in the last 2 months, Guidehouse, a global consulting firm, and StarKiss, one of those global brands that everyone knows from being a kid. And they all announced their headquarters here. The interesting thing is that it's not just Fairfax County, but it's all across Northern Virginia. Amazon HQ2 announced a couple of years back and is continuing to grow in Arlington County, Micron out in the city of Manassas. And we have 170 data centers across our region, which makes us the largest location for data centers in the world. But small businesses with fewer than 50 employees make up 94% of the Fairfax business community. That is why Fairfax EDA has held these workshops since 2003 to support the creation and growth of small businesses in our community. More than 5,000 people have attended these workshops. Support to small business has been more important than ever in the past year because of COVID-19. In Fairfax County, the FCEDA and our partners in this workshop have all met that call. There have been federal, state, and local resources. They've all stepped up in an unprecedented way to assist businesses and to help them bridge the gap in the pandemic. Fairfax County businesses received $2.9 billion in the first round of PPP. We connected with thousands of businesses through our surveys, through outreach, newsletters, to connect them to the microloan programs, the Fairfax Rise program, the Fairfax Pivot program, which is new. You're going to hear from Rebecca Modry, the director of DEI at the county. The county has just done a brilliant job in addressing the needs of small business. The Rebuild Virginia, the PPP money, EIDL program, all of these have been made available to our small businesses. Over 4,800 businesses received $52 million in grants from the Fairfax Rise program. This program, which was created by the Board of Supervisors, led by the Chairman McKay and the County Executive Hill, they wanted to target small and minority businesses, women-owned business, veteran-owned businesses, and 72% of women-owned, minority, and veteran-owned businesses received grants through this program, and all of them had less than 50 employees. This is exactly the target the Board of Supervisors wanted to hit, and it is important because minority businesses have been hurt much more in this pandemic than other businesses. Now the Board of Supervisors has created a $25 million pivot grant program to help businesses that have been particularly hard hit in specific sectors, such as lodging, food services, retail, and arts organizations. And we also connected hundreds of businesses with our technical assistance, such as SCORE mentors, free and legal and financial assistance through our Start Small, Think Big program, which is sponsored by the local law firms. The FCEDA hosted the Tech for Growth webinars with Facebook for small businesses and a webinar with Senator Warner on access to capital for minority-owned businesses. With our NOVA partners, 10 jurisdictions in Northern Virginia, the NOVA Economic Development Alliance, we stood up a 12-part post-COVID webinar series that was attended by thousands across the region. The NOVA EDA is now presenting a 10-part Catalyst for Change webinar series featuring businesses that have pivoted with new marketing opportunities or met the challenges as a result of COVID. In 2020, we stood up our talent initiative, the workinnorthernvirginia.com website, and we went from 2,000 hits a month to now over 50,000, 60,000 a month, and over 400,000 in the last 12 months. This talent initiative has sponsored virtual career fairs, included one focused on displaced workers during the pandemic, 2 focused on recent college graduates and rising seniors, and 1 especially for cyber and cloud computing. These have really provided us with an edge for providing our businesses support. We now partner with 170 businesses across Northern Virginia, many of them medium and large corporations, over 100 universities we partner with, 40 of them historically Black colleges, and we've had nearly over 3,500 attendees and over 7,000 interactions with our Northern Virginia companies. In 2020, the FCEDA worked with nearly 150 companies that announced the creation of over 11,000 jobs. Impressive during any given year, but particularly noteworthy given the national economic toll of COVID-19. And we are focused on doing even better this year. Our motto is save a job, save a household. Save households, you save a community. You're going to learn a lot from this workshop. You're going to learn a lot from the resources that are provided from the Fairfax County government, from the Community Business Partnership, from the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity, and the U.S. Small Business Administration. And you are in for a treat when you hear from our Entrepreneur Spotlight segment from Emmit McHenry. Thank you for being here, and be well.
Thanks, Victor. Your opening remarks set the tone perfectly for the upcoming conversation with our small business experts. Thanks again. If you're an aspiring entrepreneur or an existing business in search of resources to grow or expand, you're in the right place. For the next hour, sit back, take notes, and listen closely to the information that is relevant to starting or growing your business. With that said, I'd like to introduce our first expert, Cindy Butler, Director, Small Business Center of Northern Virginia at the Community Business Partnership. Good morning.
Thank you, Karen, and thanks to all of you who are here today to learn about starting your own business. My name is Cindy Butler. I'm Director of the Women's Business Center of Northern Virginia, and I'm a recovering entrepreneur. Actually, I have discovered that I am an intrapreneur who likes employer supplied benefits and to know when and how much her paycheck will be. We can talk about that offline. In the meantime, to give you my credentials, I've owned my own consulting business, have co-founded several nonprofits, including internationally, have a master's degree in international business, and have spent thousands of hours counseling hundreds of small business owners here and in Seattle, Washington. It's really great to meet all of you today. Next slide. My host organization, Community Business Partnership, is positioned to help you with most of your small business needs. We have multiple programs that are funded by the Small Business Administration to help you if you are pre-startup, if you've been operating for a while and need help with growth, if you're looking for funding, if you are planning to move your business out of your home but don't want to take on a high rent. My program, the Women's Business Center, specifically helps pre and startup businesses. We assist everyone, including men, but our outreach focuses on women who are low to moderate income or are socially disadvantaged. Today, I'm going to tell you what the first steps are to move your business ahead, your business idea along, and to start your business. Next slide. First, we'll work with you to determine if your goals for the business are realistic. Will the business allow you more flexible time? Will it provide the income you are seeking? We want to help you decide if your idea is feasible. There's lots of research that needs to go into determining what your business needs for success. Your friends and family may say you have a great idea, but the market may tell you no. Finally, you may decide that you don't want to necessarily start a business, but rather create a job for yourself. We can help you with that too. Next slide. Have you determined that your business idea is attainable and will provide you the wage you want? Often, the reasons for wanting to start a business don't match day-to-day realities. For example, are you hoping to gain time flexibility? You may plan to open your coffee shop at 9 a.m., but would likely see a huge jump in business if you started at 6:30. Your customers will have lots of influence over what your business looks like. Are you thinking that you will make lots more money because the boss in your current job earns more than you and you are going to keep the bulk of that difference when you are self-employed? You have no idea what your employer pays on your behalf in terms of your benefits and taxes until you start paying them for yourself. Then you need to establish that there is a market need for your product and hone in on your target customer as closely as you can. This will save you time and money in the long run. And finally, do you really want to grow a business? Do you want to take on HR, financial, and operations issues? Or do you mostly enjoy working directly with your clients? I heard a new client say last week that she was hiring people to do things she didn't want to do, but a business owner has to take or has to understand and take responsibility for all aspects of the business. Next slide. Okay, sorry, go back one slide. So we do want you to have a business plan. We won't try to make you write a long one, but we will try to get you to make some decisions and put them in writing. For example, you need a hiring plan before you can estimate your personnel costs. A plan will help you think about the what ifs. So many business owners would have had an easier time during the pandemic if they had taken a break from running their business to develop a contingency plan for operating without cash flow for several months. And a plan will help you think about your business in phases. You probably don't need a big cash infusion to get started, but at one point, will funding be a necessity? What should your financial situation look like before you take on additional debt? You can draft your plan however you want. List bullet points, do it with pen and paper, or draw an anime book. As long as you get your ideas out of your head, you can begin to make some decisions. Next slide. Most of our classes are still free, although we may begin charging again soon. The link to search and register for our classes is shown here. We do regularly charge for some classes, such as our QuickBooks training. If any class is more than you can afford, please follow the directions on our website and ask for a scholarship. We are committed to bringing everyone in to take advantage of our counseling and training. We also promote the classes hosted by some of our industry colleagues, and you'll see those if you subscribe to our newsletter. Finally, counseling is free because our work is supported by grants. And if we feel that a short, usually 30-minute session with an expert, such as an attorney or accountant, will be helpful to you, we have some professionals that we can refer you to. To continue with that professional, you would need to negotiate a rate. An important note, all of our counselors currently own or have owned a business. Next slide. To request counseling, go to our website at www.cbponline.org and click on the counseling button. You will be asked to complete a form and sign it. This gives us permission to counsel you. Our program assistant will forward your form to the counselor that we think will best fit with you and your needs. The counselor will then contact you directly to set an appointment. This process can take 2 to 3 days, although it may be a bit longer through the summer as our staff is taking vacation time, which is well deserved after the pandemic. Next slide. To contact us for information other than a counseling request, email wbc@cbponline.org. Please contact us if you have any questions about our program or the other services provided by Community Business Partnership. We look forward to supporting you on your road to success. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. I would now like to introduce Rebecca Maudry, who serves as Director of the Fairfax County Department of Economic Initiatives. Rebecca, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Karen. Good morning, everyone. It was so motivating to have that intro part and be able to hear a little bit from all of you. So congratulations on where you are in your venture and in your path. So I am going to talk just really briefly a little bit about Fairfax County, our department, the Department of Economic Initiatives. but most importantly, some resources to help you start or grow your business. So we don't have a lot of time. And honestly, I'm pinch hitting today for a colleague of mine who is out. So I'm going to just make sure I focus on some of the general processes that you really need to consider as you initiate your business. The most important message that I have for you is that you should engage with all of the experts that you're going to hear from today. And you can also contact our business experience partner or our BizX program with any county specific questions that you have. All of that information is going to be available, but real quick, the email is bizx@fairfaxcounty.gov. And I hope you're going to receive this presentation because there's some links in here that we really want to direct you to as well. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So here is really quickly just a little bit about the Department of Economic Initiatives. So we're really focused on creating the kind of programs and partnerships that support economic development. This includes leveraging county assets for public-private partnerships or catalytic development, particularly in the real estate space, advancing innovation programs, and providing small and local business support. And that is what we will focus on today. Next slide, please. So here's just a little bit about kind of how my department operates and some of the resources that we've had in the past and recently. And Victor Hoskins mentioned a few of these over the course of the pandemic. We led the implementation of 2 large grant programs. Last year it was the Fairfax RISE program. We supported over 4,800 very small businesses in the county to access a total of $52 million. And we're just wrapping up the Pivot program. The application period closed for that just last week, which is a $25 million program focused specifically on recovery in very, very particular sectors. But I realize these are programs of the past I'm talking about, but what I want to relay is that as more programs are available or become available, all of our partners here on this call know about it and will share with their networks. And it's also available kind of on our website and through our listserv, which is listed at the end of this presentation. Next slide, please. And so here is a little bit about BizX. This is one of our services, the Business Experience Partnership. It is free to anyone planning to establish, evolve, or expand a business in Fairfax County. And because every site is different and every business is different, we want to make sure that you know about the permits and processes that are specific to your situation. So again, this morning, many folks here will guide you through the steps and the support that's available to you to establish a business. I hope you take advantage of that. BizX is the county specific set of information in this. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see that the most common registrations, permits, and licenses that are necessary to establish a business. You can see that there are federal, state, and county specific considerations. So this is not an exhaustive list. These are just examples of the most common requirements. There are additional business-specific licenses, permits, or inspections, as well as site-specific requirements. So please get assistance through BizX or elsewhere to ensure that you are aware of the requirements for your specific business in your specific desired location. And if we go to the next slide, we'll see that understanding your specific business and site requirements is particularly important right now because as of just last week or July 1st, Fairfax County has a new zoning ordinance, which is a pretty big deal. There are significant changes, and this is particularly the case with regard to home-based businesses. And we know that many of our local businesses start as home-based businesses. So please check this out. The website is listed at the bottom of this slide. You can contact the Department of Planning and Development. You can see the updated zoning regulations, and that department, as well as BizX, are here to help you navigate that. And so if we go to the next slide, you'll see that almost every business, I think to highlight, every business needs at least 2 permits from Fairfax County, 1 for the location of your business and 1 for a business license. So the new zoning ordinance expanded the types of businesses that can be established in a home, but not all businesses are allowed. Very generally, businesses that do not propose to have customers or clients to the home, except for teaching businesses, require an administrative permit. If your business model anticipates having customers or clients, or if you want to seek flexibility from some of the administrative requirements, you can apply for a special permit, which requires a public hearing. So this is just a little bit of an overview. If you propose to operate from a commercial location, you'll need a non-residential use occupancy permit, or this is called a non-rep. This is issued to the tenant and confirms that the specific use meets the zoning requirements, building code requirements, and parking requirements. So your prospective landlord can be a great resource to learn a little bit about this, but please, you really need to do your own due diligence, because once you sign a lease, you will be paying rent whether or not you are allowed by the county or approved by the county to occupy the space. So it's important that you understand your obligations and your specific site requirements. If we go to the next slide, here's a little bit about BPOL, or a business license, which is what it's called. If your business is located in Fairfax County for 30 days or more, and if your gross receipts are anticipated to exceed $10,000 in 1 year, 1 calendar year, or if you're a construction contractor with contracts exceeding $25,000 in 1 calendar year, you will need a business license, or a BPOL. Almost all businesses will need this, so keep that in mind. And moving on. So really quick, we wanted to point out there are many resources available to you in the county. So the BizX website includes a lot of those. Here's a screenshot of kind of the list. Many of the folks you're going to hear from today are included in that list. So you can go there to check out more. Going on to the next slide, I just wanted to highlight that for those of you that may be looking for a commercial permit or for land development, the Land Development Services Department in Fairfax County offers free project management services for select projects. So this can be very helpful. This is usually a limited number of businesses or folks, but if you're in that category, this could be very, very useful resource. And the next slide is about selling to Fairfax County. So if your business involves a product or service that you'd like to pitch to the county, please attend one of these free vendor workshops. You'll see that many of them have a sector focus, but really you can attend all of them. And this is going to be the best place to start to understand what the sales opportunities are, what the contract opportunities are, and what the process is to sell to Fairfax County. And next slide, this is a little bit about if you're a maker, which means you have a tangible, reproducible product that you've made in Fairfax County. Please check out and join the Made in Fairfax network. This is a great place to engage with other makers, learn about opportunities, and also there's an online directory where you can be listed to reach potentially more sales. And if your business involves an activity or an event, you should be connected to Visit Fairfax. This is the county's destination marketing organization, which promotes county's leisure activities. And so with that, on the final slide, you can keep in touch here. You can join the listserv. Again, any new programs or resources that we put out, you'll hear about it through our listserv. And of course, everything will be on our website as well. So thank you very much, Karen. That's it from me.
Thank you for sharing such great information, Rebecca. I would now like to shift the conversation to resources available through state government by introducing Chris Lay, the NOVA Business Services Manager for the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity. Good morning, Chris. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Karen, and thank you. Thank you to you and your awesome team for putting this webinar together. And hello and good morning to everyone else on this call. So I think I'm the only person on this webinar today who's zooming in from Arlington, because I didn't see that in the chat. And let me tell you, it's another beautiful, hot summer day here in Arlington. So I'm Chris Way, and I am the Business Services Manager with the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity. Next slide, please. Our mission really is to promote access to the Commonwealth of Virginia's contracting opportunities and ensure fairness in the procurement process. Next slide, please. For those who have not heard of our agency, we are your small business agency in Virginia. We are the Virginia agency dedicated to your success. We have 4 areas of function. We provide access to capital, we do advocacy, business development and outreach, and of course, we're the agency that does the SWAM certification. Next slide, please. We have our own financing arm, which is the Virginia Small Business Financing Authority. The VSBFA provide direct loans and credit enhancing programs. We have a child care loan program, as well as a microloan program and bond and grant programs. Next slide, please. And we do advocacy. So the Commonwealth has a SWAM goal of 42%. That means that 42% of our discretionary spend should be spent with a certified SWAM vendor. So one way that we help agency buyers meet their SWAM goal is by organizing SWAM vendor outreach events for them, so that small businesses can meet with agency buyers and start building that relationship that is crucial when it comes to government contracting. They can hear directly from buyers of their forecast for goods and services. And it's a win-win situation for both the vendors and the agency buyers. Next slide, please. So I'm with the Business Development Outreach Team, and I cover the Northern Virginia area. The Business Development Outreach Team are the ones who go and provide direct assistance to businesses. We are the ones who do the business counseling, workshops, and trainings. We assist you with your SWAM certification application, and we teach you about Virginia's procurement process. And mostly, we connect you to other business services and resources for your business. Next slide, please. So most people who have heard of our agency know us for the SWAM certification. And the certification division handles both the SWAM and DBE certification. The SWAM certification is what you need to give your business an advantage when it comes to state government contracting. The DBE certification is for those businesses interested in working on transportation construction projects that uses federal funds. It is a very specific certification. Next slide, please. So this last screen gives you the SBSD contacts. So Karen White is going to be your contact for any loan programs that we have with the VSBFA. If you are interested in the DBE certification or wonder if it's the right certification for your business, please contact Richard Gordon. He is the DBE expert. You're welcome to contact me for anything else related to your business. And if I can't help you, I will at least connect you to the right resource partner who can help you. Now, I've been with the agency for 5 years. And before that, I was with a nonprofit working mostly with minority businesses. As a program manager for 2 entrepreneur programs while I was with Northern Virginia Community College. So I've been working directly with small businesses for many years. Let's just put it at that. And it's extremely rewarding to see small businesses succeed. So please understand that SBSD is here and is your small business agency in Virginia. We're really here just to support you. That really wraps up my presentation. I know you've heard a lot of information today, and if those of you who are still willing to start a business and go down that path, more power to you, and we're here to support you. And thank you so much for your time. I'm going to turn it over to Karen now. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Chris. Great presentation. Thank you for sharing the information about SBSD resources. The 4th small business expert joining us today is Nick Rashpara, who is an economic development specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration. Nick will provide an overview of SBA programs and services. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning, Karen. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. You and your team, I want to echo this, what Krista stated, that you guys do a great job in serving entrepreneurs and small businesses in Fairfax County and around the world for that matter. I saw where people are dialing in from, logging in from. I saw a place like Tamil Nadu, India. So you guys not only have a local reach, but a global reach very clearly. So what I am going to talk about is our agency, the United States Small Business Administration. Is a dedicated federal agency to serve entrepreneurs and small businesses throughout the United States and its territories. And if we could go to the next slide, please, I will show you, like, if you look at wherever you are in your business, you know, sometimes I've seen in this presentation, somebody puts up a graph of a business life cycle. And it's not important to know the graph. What's important to know that your business journey is usually along these 4 phases. You're either starting a business, or you've started a business, you're in a growth phase, hopefully, or you're growing, your growth is peaking and you're expanding into new markets, territories. Or in some cases, you're recovering from a shock, such as a pandemic. And that is a very, very prominent thing that our agency is dealing with right now. So wherever you are, we have resources, programs, and services to help you in your business journey. If you look at what I've highlighted in green on this slide is START. I presume that this audience is really focused on this phase of the business. So in this phase of their business, I'm going to really highlight the programs that SBA has to help you start your business. And if we can go to the next slide, please. All right, I would like everyone to go to our business guide, the SBA business guide. I pasted the URL right there on the top of the slide. It is www.sba.gov/business guide. It has programs, resources, video tutorials, modules to help you plan, launch, manage, and grow your business. So I recommend everyone to just visit this business guide. It is a wonderful resource. The SBA has invested significant resources to help you along your business journey. And if we could go to the next slide, please. You would really find this on our launch tab. So presuming you've already, gone through the planning of your business, and if you look at the first 5 steps on the left side of that red box I pasted up there, those are things that you need to do in the planning phase. Those are things that Cindy touched on in her presentation. And if you look at the last 5 items from 6 to 10, those are things that Rebecca touched on. Her and her team, she said she's pinch hitting. Usually it's Megan Kiefer is her colleague that joins. Megan does a deep dive on what you need to do in Fairfax County. And Rebecca also touched on that. So this is to reinforce what our previous speakers already presented to you on what you need to do. But the SBA also has that has that as well as a reminder, as a reinforcement mechanism. It really complements what is already being presented to you. And if you notice in this workshop and what we're doing here is we're really doing, highlighting some of the wonderful resources to help you along your business journey, because you're not going alone. And if you go to the next slide, please, you would see that there are wonderful learning resources out there for entrepreneurs. They're available for anyone to log on to. All you need is a Wi-Fi connection or internet connection of any sort, and you could take specialized courses. And this is in addition to the Learning Center, but these are specialized courses on things such as financing options, finding and attracting investors, introduction to pricing, from that all the way down to social media marketing. I know that I saw in the chat earlier in the presentation that a lot of folks are using things such as TikTok and all these wonderful new social media platforms out there. Well, the SBA actually has a module to help you optimize that. So please do take a look at these specialized courses. And if we go to the next slide, please. In addition to these wonderful online tools that are already available to your fingertips, We also have human resources. We being the SBA also provide human resources to help you along your business journey. You heard from Cindy earlier. She's a representative of the Women's Business Centers, but there are other SBA resource partners. And SBA resource partners are nonprofit organizations that the SBA provides grant funding for to help you along your business journey. So, these nonprofits, they receive federal funding from the SBA. They hire counselors, mentors, and coaches such as Cindy, and they would help you along your business journey. The Women's Business Center is not the only SBA resource provider. If you go counterclockwise, the Small Business Development Center is another resource provider of the SBA. I actually came from the Small Business Development Centers at one point in time in Washington, D.C. SCORE, this stands for the Service Corps of Retired Executives. That these folks are retired, they're volunteers, but they are very, very experienced and specialized. So that's another option, of course, for the veteran entrepreneurs on this call. The Veterans Business Outreach Centers are another resource. And if you flip to the next slide, please. You could find any of these resource partners from this URL on the top of this slide, sba.gov/local assistance. You just click on that red button that says search nearby. You type in your zip code and you hit enter, and all your resource partner options are based on your geographic location, will pop right up. And if we could go to the next slide, please. Lastly, two very important topics that people are usually very interested in. We get asked about these a lot. Access to capital. Entrepreneurs, businesses, no matter what business they're in, are always interested in access to capital. Capital access is a lifeline for a business. It is a lifeblood for a business many times. Well, you have different capital access options. People think of loans typically, but that's not your only capital access option. There's also investment capital. There are also grants. You could find all these capital access options at the URL that I pasted, sba.gov/funding programs, and you could read about them, and it'll tell you everything on how to prepare to access this capital, to what you need to do to target yourself and position yourself to actually win the capital. And then government contracting, very popular in Fairfax County, as well as the greater Washington area. There are so many businesses in this area, in Fairfax County in particular, that thrive on government contracts. It is specialized. Government contract specialized, and you need some business experience to do it. But to learn about it, you could go right to that website and start learning about it, how you could position yourself to win government contracts, and all the contracting assistance program, the counseling help that you could receive to get ready to procure government contracts. All right, and I believe that is the end of my presentation, and I would hand the floor back over to Karen.
Thank you, Nick. It's great to hear all of the resources that are available through the SBA. Thank you to all of our speakers for those informative presentations. We will now start the Q&A portion of the webinar. I'd like to invite all of our business experts to participate in the Q&A by turning on your cameras and microphones. As for the viewing audience, if you haven't already done so, please enter your questions in the Q&A of the Zoom control panel. We will try to answer as many questions as possible for now. However, if we don't get to your questions during the time allotted for Q&A, send your inquiries to info@fairfaxcountyeda.org. Okay, so this first question is for Cindy. Cindy, the CBP is typically with the Women's Business Center, it's promoted as being a resource for women business owners. Does the center also help men?
Yeah, we do. But our mission is to reach out to low income and marginalized women. And so That's who we promote to, but we help everyone.
All right, thank you so much. Rebecca, this one is for you. Fairfax County recently updated their zoning and permitting process. How does this affect my home-based business?
Good question. I talked about this a little bit in the presentation. So again, I encourage everyone to check out the planning and development website with some of the specifics. But the bottom line is that more businesses are now allowed from home, which is very good news. There is a process for allowing customers or clients to come into your home. So it's a very, I would say, case-by-case basis. But there is more opportunity there. But definitely check out the planning and development site for details on that. That team can help you, or our BizX team can also walk you through specifics.
Thank you. Chris, the next one is for you. I'm interested in selling to the Commonwealth. What do I need to do?
Oh, it's very easy. Virginia is one of the easiest states to do procurement. As a vendor, the only thing you really need to do to sell to Virginia is to register your business in our EVA portal. So EVA is where we do everything for procurement, and that website is eva.virginia.gov, and Virginia is spelled out. You register yourself as a vendor, and you get email notifications of all opportunities sent to you, so you don't actually have to do any searching. You can do your market research on that website. You can run reports and find out how much people have paid. So you can do your, not just your market intelligence, but your competitor analysis too. Everything is there. If you need help with it, please contact me or sign up for one of the EVA workshops at eva.virginia.gov.
Okay, thank you. So here's another question, and anyone feel free to jump in with this one. It says, are all of the resources limited to Fairfax County, Virginia residents? I live in Montgomery County, Maryland. Am I qualified for these resources to start my business idea?
Yes.
I can start by saying the federal resources absolutely anywhere in the continental United States, and I'll let the rest of the panel. But yeah, the SBA resources, no matter where you are, if you're eligible. But I'll defer to my fellow panelists to share their piece.
Yeah, having said that, we will help anyone who contacts us, but it may be that local counseling would be better, and there are women's business centers in DC and Maryland, or we can refer across the country. They're in every state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So for us, if you need assistance with your SWAM certification or with how Virginia does procurement, we would be happy to help businesses outside of Virginia. But for some specific things, it might be better, like Cindy said, to go to your local area for counseling.
Thank you. All right. Cindy, does the CBP charge for their services?
I mentioned that we are not charging for training right now, but we may start soon. And we do have a couple of classes that we regularly charge for, like QuickBooks, but counseling is always free.
Okay, thank you. Chris, this question relates to SWAM. Can startups get SWAM, and that is Small Women and Minority Certification? And how long does it take to get the certification?
Definitely. Startups can become SWAM certified. We have no requirement as to years of service or business. Once you apply online and you submit all your documentation online, the processing time is 60 business days. So think about 3 calendar months. You can always check your status on our website, but it is 60 business days for processing, and it will take you the full 60 business days too.
Okay, thank you. Nick, I'm interested in government contracting. Is it better to start with selling to the federal government, or should I focus on state and local government?
Excellent question. One of the things that Chris has put out some wonderful resources, and it may be much easier to start off selling to the federal and state government. maybe much easier to sell to the local and state governments. One of the things the federal government does look at is something called past performance. So when you sell to the state government, where you may have more access to, you may have great resources and connections to, you are building your past performance, right, by virtue of doing that. Another way to sell to the federal government, in addition to selling to the state or local governments, is being a subcontractor, to a prime. It's an excellent way to build a past performance, to learn federal government contracting. I mentioned federal government contracting is its own animal. And you need to be able to navigate around it, but those are excellent ways to start as a business.
Okay, thank you. And it looks like we have time for one more question. And this question, Chris, is for you. What is the definition of a small business in Virginia?
Okay, a small business in Virginia is really not that small. It's as long as you have less than 250 employees, or you make less than $10 million in gross revenue. So you only need to meet one of the two criteria. If you are a $50 million business, that's a big business to me, right? But you have less than 250 employees, Virginia defines you as a small business.
Okay. All right. There were so many great questions here for our experts. For the questions that we weren't able to get to this morning, we will be sure to follow up with you directly. Panelists, thank you so much for being here today. All of the presentations have been outstanding. We've learned so much from each of you. Also, thank you for the great Q&A session and for contributing to this portion of the E101 webinar. Cindy, Rebecca, Chris, and Nick, once again, thank you. We will now transition to the Entrepreneur Spotlight segment of the program. If you're just tuning in, welcome to Entrepreneurship 101, Starting a Business in Fairfax County, Entrepreneur Spotlight. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. He grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, received his BS in Communications from the University of Denver, enlisted in the Marine Corps, where he attained the rank of lieutenant. He earned his MS degree in Communications from Northwestern University, where he later taught and served as an assistant dean. His first full-time entrepreneurial endeavor, Network Solutions, was a tremendous success in that he and his business partners commercialized the TCP IP protocol and went on to become the managers of the Domain Name System, or DNS, registry, granting the .com registrations. Mr. McHenry has since founded several other companies, including his current venture, Cycurion, which he co-founded with his partners, Kurt McHenry, his son, and Alvin McCoy, and currently serves as chairman and CEO. In addition to being a serial entrepreneur, Mr. McHenry is also a former FCEDA commissioner and a tech titan. Welcome to the stage, Mr. McHenry. Thank you for being here.
Well, I'm delighted to be with you. I've been listening to what folks have had to say, and I wish I'd had all that guidance when I first started as an entrepreneur. Well done, people. Very well done.
Thank you so much. So, Mr. McHenry, we have several viewers on today that are in all phases of the business life cycle, and you've done it not just once, but several times in starting a business. So, as a serial entrepreneur, how has the business landscape changed since you first started your business or the first company?
A significant piece of it, it's technology dominant. Most of us are finding ways to use technology differently or to create emerging technologies. In this region, when I started, there weren't investment bankers looking at Northern Virginia to invest in. Even when I went on the Economic Development Authority, we didn't have so much of that. I think you guys have been a part of attracting investors, but the big thing was the capital resources weren't here. But what was here was talented people, a government that needed technology, that needed services, that were looking for competitive pricing. So there were opportunities, but the big difference was the capital marketplace.
And so how did you raise funding then for your company? And do you feel it was more difficult when you first started out, or is it more difficult given today's environment?
Oh, it was more difficult when we started out.
Okay.
You say, we second mortgaged our homes. Some of us sold our homes for capital to grow the business. But if you believe in the idea and the plan begins to take root, then you make sacrifices. And so that's what we did.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what lessons then do you think are most important for a new entrepreneur to learn, and why?
That's a broad question. I think a lot of the things that Cindy talked about, some of what's going on here with some of the training facility. I think the big thing for an entrepreneur to deal with is, am I entrepreneur stuff? Am I willing to take risk? Do I have a fallback plan if my risk taking fails? Am I in a network of relationships that are supportive of being an entrepreneur? Or in some cases, I hate to say this, relationships sabotage entrepreneurship. So I think that's the first thing. You've got to wrestle with yourself and what you're made of and what you really want. If you want to be an entrepreneur, quotes, just for making the money, I'd say that's the wrong model. I think sure, you want to be able to be successful financially, but it's an expression of self. Most entrepreneurs have a burning desire to create, to be a part of building something bigger than or different than what they've experienced to date. Look, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. The truth is, my grandfather, my father, my uncles, my granduncles all had small businesses. But they had those small businesses not to grow them large, not seeing a huge, but it was freedom. It was a freedom from the control of others. The only control factors they dealt with was the client that they were providing a service to or providing a solution to. That's one aspect of the business. And that's what I kind of call the closed loop part of the business. There's another aspect that's much more open. And that is when you're in the business, but it's not just for that personal economic satisfaction, but you are driven by an idea, you're driven to build something, or you have a vision that's just beyond yourself. And that's a larger play. And so people go through all of those are valid. It's just, you need to understand who you are because it will control your risk. I remember having a dear friend who was more of a closed loop player, and he tried to jump into the open. And he just burned through lots of cash because the model was so different, and he didn't create the strategy to be in the more open, aggressive space for growth. So you really need to kind of measure yourself and where you stand with that.
And just to piggyback on the information that you shared about your friend and not having that strategy, is it in starting a business or even running an existing business to have a business plan to continuously update?
Well, it's critical to start with a strong idea and a plan. And yet you make a good point. You have to update, you have to be in the moment. You just can't drive down a road and the light goes dark on you and you say, I'm going to keep going down this road. You've got to have a way to keep your vision looking at options. I mean, I spend lots of time, even at this stage of my life, studying, reading, reviewing, trying to understand market trends, trying to understand who's creating what, who should I be looking for to partner with, what's the competition doing in the marketplace. So I think really being an entrepreneur is a life of study, a life of innovating yourself, trying to re-envision where you want to be and how you want to be there. And that's part of the planning process. I would also add, an entrepreneur has to ask the question. One of the things that was missing in the 10 points that Nick gave, I'd add one other thing, Nick, and that is, who are you going to partner with to build your business? Are they going to just be employees that you will attract? And what are you going to give them to make it meaningful for them to take the risk with you? Or is it going to be partners? And what do you know about those partners? I mean, it's one thing to go to a baseball game to have a beer with a person. It's another, getting into business with a person is more difficult than getting out of that business if things don't work can be more difficult than getting out of a marriage even. So you have to look at this almost like this is a form of marriage when you partner. But if you do the right kind of partnering and you create the right diversity, I mean intellectual diversity, I mean thought processes, I mean methods and tools, et cetera, then that is can be a very powerful foundation for growing a business. Lots of entrepreneurs, everyone talks about the entrepreneur. I dare say most successful entrepreneurs, you should be talking about the team and the team that they built and the people they attracted to get to where they want to go.
Interesting. So for viewers, for family-owned businesses, what has it been like working with your son, Kurt, and what are some of the best practices for hiring and working with family members?
Well, I've had many sides. I've had a sister's a PhD in engineering who was an engineer, but she didn't really trust people. And to be an entrepreneur, there needs to be, you got to trust but verify, but you got to start with the trust factor. So that didn't work out very well. And she recognized that and she started something of her own. I had a younger son who was with us for a while. He came to say, Dad, this isn't for me. And I was glad he did because I was about to say, this isn't for you. My son, Kurt, is different. It was unique. I mean, I remember when he was a child, at the dining table with my family, we talk about business. I talk about what I was doing. And of course, I gave the happy side of the business. I didn't say we're about to go broke tomorrow. That sort of thing. But one night I was sitting at the table and I said, what's the challenge today, Dad? I said, well, I got to fire this guy. He just can't get the vision. And Kurt said, Dad, you want to fire him or are you going to ask for his resignation? Now, this is a business guy. He understands human resources. He understands people. The difference between firing and asking for a senior manager's resignation allows them to keep their self-respect. It makes it easier. Just that. So he has that knack. He has that understanding around people and people relationships. And before we became business partners, he worked other places. You know, he worked for AT&T and et cetera, et cetera. So he learned not just what Dad could share with him, but he went about learning what other people were doing and the methods and tools they used. And so when we became partners, he brought that into the business. But he wasn't a partner day one. He also, when he was in college, I think high school, I sent him to Oklahoma to work with our operation there, independent of me. I wasn't around. So he's had broad experience. He's a compliment to me. I'm overly optimistic. And he's the guy that says, Dad, think about this for a minute. You know, but that's what you want. You want a partner that can balance you out, because we all have leanings, and some of those leanings can get you into trouble. And so you need someone that can say, well, let's think about this a little different way. The biggest challenge I've ever had is when I had a board that didn't give me that kind of feedback with some crazy idea I had. So yeah, it's been easy. It's been easy. We have ultimate trust. So he can tell me things other people might not tell me. And that's always good. You know, if I cut somebody off too many times in a meeting, he's the guy that will say, Dad, you know, you cut him off a few too many times. You need to let him finish his idea. Or more importantly, he'll say, may I finish my idea? So that's all worked out well for us.
Okay. So it looks like I am getting the signal to wrap up this interview. But in the few minutes that we have remaining, if you wouldn't mind just sharing information about your entrepreneurial journey and just leaving our audience with some just tips for success.
Tips for success. Well, look, I have been an entrepreneur since I was a kid, and paper route and all that jazz. But I think focus is a key. Be careful, don't get caught up trying to do too many things until you get a solid foundation. I think that's critical. In Cycurion, for example, we're a cybersecurity company, providing technology solutions, et cetera, et cetera. We often, in fact, earlier today, we came back and we're reviewing our plan. We're reviewing our strategy. We're looking at doing acquisitions. So we're looking at emerging technology, how that fits. And indeed, we're trying to see the quilt that we're trying to build of solutions that defines who we are, and who we are is a function of what our customers need in large measure. So I think you got to understand your customers, really critical, understand what their needs are. If you're just starting out, be honest, meet with folks, get to know the customer, tell them your story, but tell the story. You can't be everything. I often have seen people put out 10 factors or 5 or 8 factors of things they can do for a company. Well, you can't do all of those well when you're just starting out. Give me the 1 or 2 things you can do really well that differentiates you from folk. I think that's an important consideration.
Okay. And I certainly do want to thank you for your time today. It has been an amazing just opportunity to listen to your journey and to hear best practices and sage advice for viewers on how best to start a business, to run a business, and some of the things that they really need to be thinking about. We certainly do appreciate your time, Mr. McHenry.
I'd add a 30-second piece. Once you get your foundation, don't simply focus on the US. I mean, we've done business on 4 continents, found successes, but the same rules apply on all of those continents that apply here, to other things I've said so far. So thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. And thriving entrepreneurs, the opportunity to really thrive. So take care.
Thank you so very much. I'd like to thank Mr. McHenry for being here today, and I'd like to thank all of our speakers. And before we wrap up the program, I'd like to invite our Executive Vice President, Alex Imes, to the stage to offer closing remarks.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you all for attending this session of Entrepreneurship 101, Starting a Business in Fairfax County. A special note of gratitude to Emmit McHenry. He has an incredible entrepreneurship track record, and he launched and operated several very successful companies in Fairfax County. Emmit, you have a fascinating entrepreneurial story, and we thank you for providing us with your wisdom and advice for prospective business owners. What you said about knowing yourself, risk tolerance, market trends, partnership opportunities, and the factors such as control over your career path and life journey will stick with me for a long time. I will also remember your insights about the relationship skills and types of relationships an entrepreneur needs to pursue, including how to work with family, and of course, understanding and relating to customers and sticking to your strengths when you're speaking with them. Emmit was actually a Fairfax County EDA commissioner for more than a decade, so it was really great to reunite with you and have you as a guest speaker today. I also want to thank Cindy Butler, Director of the Women's Business Center of Northern Virginia, Megan Kiefer, Business Experience Partner, Fairfax County Department of Economic Initiatives, Chris Lay, Business Service Manager, Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity, and Nick Rashpara, Economic Development Specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration in Washington, D.C. And thank you again to all the participants who joined us today. We're the Fairfax County EDA, and we're here to help you with the resources that you'll need to launch a business in Fairfax County. Please feel free to reach out to us for assistance, and have a great day.
Thank you, Alex, for those insightful remarks. This concludes our program. For information about the work of the FCEDA, please visit our website at fairfaxcountyeda.org. Thank you so much. Stay safe and be well.